This is referential treatment.
What am I saying?
We're gonna go with
Season 2. Undefined and unrefined.
a little defined.
A little refined. Season 2 has kind of got a self-explanation.
What did we say next? Like, comment, subscribe. We don't care. Do we care?
Nah. We still cuss. And it's still a dialectic between the two.
Now it's on. Are we harmonizing?
Yeah, dude. I just blew your fucking mind.
You bet your ass you did.
Yeah.
Wait, so we haven't recorded since Monster Hunter came out?
We haven't?
No. Which would explain why we haven't recorded.
Oh, yeah. That's why we haven't been recording. 123 hours.
Sorry, folks. If you don't care about Monster Hunters, prepare for the next few minutes.
Tune out.
So we were excited about a game, and it came out, and then we power played it so hard, we're out of stuff to play.
Well, we could get to HR 100, because there's a final mission.
I feel like that would be beating a dead horse.
It is. Because I'm HR 55 now.
The Ryu package came out today.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
I'm not buying it.
You don't have to buy
I'll
it.
earn the soccer skin.
Oh, okay.
But I won't buy... I'm not paying for like the...
You don't pay for anything in these.
You had to buy the emotes.
Oh, that's lame.
The uppercut and the Hadouken.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. You pay for that, but the outfits, no, you don't.
Okay. But you blew my mind because they uploaded the older game, Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, which is easily the most populous. They put that on Android.
Nope, it's only on Apple.
Oh, only on Apple?
Mm-hmm. iOS only.
I don't have Apple.
Oh, no.
I might get an iPhone just for this. That would be a ridiculous misuse of funds.
You could just have a DS and play it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's only PSP, though.
No, it's only PSP. That's why it's a big deal.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's on my phone now.
Yeah. I'll figure it out.
I'll emulate it.
So,
Good emulate it.
mine less blown, but still that's out there.
But why would you emulate it when we could just play Monster Hunter World?
Yeah. Which
We did
yeah.
a lot.
I'm kind of getting game withdrawal now from that.
Game withdrawal?
Yeah, like when you, in this case, finish something.
You wish you hadn't finished it, or there was more to do?
Yeah, we went at it too aggressively.
I don't know if it's too aggressively, because I think we both have a lot to do in our lives.
Yes.
That it's probably best we power played it, and now we can set it down.
We can revert back to being adults, make a podcast, which we just talked about possible changes to our forum.
Yeah. Again. Beginning of season 2 change.
Yeah, because the whole thing is we actually wanted to make quality a little bit better.
Yeah. Every time.
A little bit more of a serious effort into it. So we could just call everything else up to here, season 1.5, and season 2 is just
constantly adding point something to never get to season 2. We're constantly changing stuff.
Just like Square Enix.
Pretty soon we'll have to Skype do it.
Yeah. You'll be moving.
Or Discord.
I'll be moving.
Yeah, we're both
around
moving.
the same time.
Yep. Both moving. And not the same place.
No. If we switch to Discord, though, this is entirely just going to turn into like a game streaming thing. It'll be another streaming channel.
Potentially, but there's quite a few podcasts that don't record in the same place and they sound totally fine.
That's true. If that's the case, my next place I'm just going to make a stream room, like a dedicated podcast room.
Really?
Yeah.
I won't.
I know you won't. I know.
I have a mic. I'll just throw it on my table and just like record.
I kind of want to...
Dude, imagine if I recorded at my setup now in my house.
Yeah.
I could just lounge on my couch and
could
shout at a mic the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
But I have to have headphones on so I can hear you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be easy.
You'd be in charge of your own editing.
Can we not do that, actually?
Can we just do live all the time?
Can I just Dropbox you the sound file and then you can edit it?
Can we do that? Yes.
Actually,
are we going to do that? Probably not.
We can't edit separately. Because then we'll be offset for time.
Yeah.
The 2 different tracks will be offset.
Yeah.
So we'd just be interrupting each other constantly.
We already do that.
That's true. But at least when we edit both tracks.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can't do it really.
Nope.
You can't edit separate.
We could just do it live.
We could do it live. That's true. Yeah, we wouldn't have to edit if we just did it all live.
You can blow my mind about space stuff.
Dude.
It's funny how much I go out my way to learn, to the point where other people have picked up on it at work. Like one of our coworkers today, like, oh man, whatever happened to this celebrity? And I proceed to do it for the next 3 celebrities he mentioned.
It's always so fucking amazing when you do shit like that.
Yeah.
Like completely off-the-wall topics. You'll just lean back and go, well, I know everything.
And then it comes to space. I'm like, well, I only know everything inside of the atmosphere because I shut my eyes to space.
You hate space.
I don't hate space.
I hope I'm opening your eyes to how fucking awesome and amazing space is.
I don't think space is awesome and amazing. I just understand the sphere of influence I hold over this planet.
I don't think I have any influence in or around space.
No, you one day hope to be like in
the
space.
god of space. Oh,
That too.
what? I think we've had some misconception here.
Wasn't it Einstein? Now, this has to be some crazy nonsense I heard about Einstein. Someone was saying like how Einstein had some ridiculous beliefs, even though he was ahead of the time, as everyone does. And they were,
like he was wrong about some things?
not just wrong about something. No. Like, he had ridiculous theories. Like, you know how Galileo thought that the Earth was round, but he also thought the Earth was the center of the solar system, and the solar system revolved around the Earth. So it's like, yes, huge step forward.
Along with some baggage.
Along with some baggage,
Oh,
exactly.
wrong.
Like, you could do the same with Newtonian physics. Like, he definitely was ahead of the curve, realizing, like, 3 Newtonian laws, the major laws. There's some other laws we don't talk about.
Mm-hmm. There's some other information about Sir Isaac Newton that you might know already, but if not, it's going to surprise you. He spent a large deal of his time searching the Bible for hidden meanings and codes.
Yeah,
Code
Da
words and stuff?
did that, too.
Yeah, a lot of his time did that, and he also spent a lot of his time practicing alchemy and trying to create
Lead to
eternal
gold?
life. Lead to gold and eternal
Okay.
life. Yeah,
Yeah, I
a
can
lot
see
of his
that.
time doing that. He was a huge shut-in. He died a virgin. Seriously, he died a virgin because he just spent all his time like wrapped up in these things.
Next time I'm in the middle of sex, I'm like, suck it, Newton!
Yeah, in a way, I'm better than Newton. Yeah, no, like I think every like celebrated scientist like that has to be wrong about some things to
Yes.
be right about some things.
Yeah.
If they were never wrong, it's like then they must have had someone else must have done the work and
Yeah.
they're taking credit. Because
So the
where are your
ridiculous
mistakes along the way?
thing that I heard about Einstein that I don't think is true, but I'm sure someone just said it in like a chat room and then it caught traction, was that he believed if you learned everything you needed to know, or you got to a certain point of intelligence, and maybe this is someone misunderstanding a quote, that you would become a beam of light and you would just like rocket off. I'm like, what? No, that doesn't make any fucking sense. And I think they misunderstood that if you traveled at a certain speed, you would be perceived as a beam of light, maybe? I don't know.
Well, I have a quote of Einstein that can explain this perfectly.
Okay.
It's, if I'm anything, I misquoted Albert Einstein, 1976.
Is that a real quote?
No. That's the point. Did I tell you about that? Like, I like to...
Create quotes that aren't real?
No, even better. I like to quote famous people for very, like, minute sayings.
Uh-huh.
Just like, hey, you want a burger or something? To quote the great George Washington, no. Because at some point, like, they said no. So
Well, you misquote Captain Picard all the time. Shit, he says the data that he never said.
grab the data,
Don't say it.
fought on my face.
Earlier in the week, you went to do one of your classic engage jokes in which you point up in the air, and I wait for you to say engage like Picard would, but I intercepted it when a Dragon Ball Z finger fusion.
It was pretty good. It caught me by surprise. I was a little disappointed I didn't get my gauge off, but I appreciated the turn. It was good. But we missed fingertips, so we would have made like a fat version.
Or the skinny old man. You remember the skinny old man?
Yeah, that's right.
I just want to see the other ways fusion can go wrong.
I just want to see all the other fusions possible.
Just like Yamcha and Frieza.
Chi-Chi and Bulma.
It makes the ultimate nagging
The
wife.
ultimate mom.
God damn.
Yeah.
I want you to finish Super.
I want there to be better female characters.
You're watching the wrong series. Shonen is written for boys.
I know.
Boys,
I know.
you would. I don't even know what the female equivalent is to shonen. It's
guess-
light novels.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's more different genre focused, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it kind of does get into that weird yaoi.
I mean, if you think about it, though.
No, I'm saying like who gets targeted with what? Young boys get targeted with adventures. Adventures
Yeah.
by other male characters and young boys. It's very much fighting. That's why we have the tournament trope.
Yep.
Versus if you watch animes or read manga targeted at young girls, you get weird like love
Relationship stuff.
and slice of life stuff.
Yeah.
Guys don't really get targeted with slice of life.
You know why? Because we're less boring. No. So if something was made specifically for me, it'd be this weird twist of audiences where it's like we're making it for a boy, but for girls instead, but for him, but for that guy over there.
But also space.
But space is involved too.
It's My Little Pony, dog.
Add some time dilation. And I'm in. Time dilation, I'm in.
Isn't there like a sciencey pony?
I don't know. I've never seen any of it.
I dated a girl whose sister was... She wouldn't be a brony.
She's just
a girl who likes
fandom.
My Little Pony.
Oh, yeah, it's just a normal.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I've met more bronies than women into My Little Pony. That's
yeah. I'm averse to the aversion of things like that.
What do you mean?
Like how it's just a meme to dislike stuff like that, or make fun of people into stuff like that. It's like I get it. They have like a bad reputation of being like gross, smelly neckbeards.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also averse to people yucking someone else's yum like that.
You do
if
it
I'm
all
not
the
doing
time,
any
sir.
harm, I do. I'm so guilty of it.
I declare
I'm
fucking
super
hypocrisy.
guilty of it. I know. I'm very hypocritic about it.
Yeah.
Hypocritic?
Hypocrite. You're just
Hypocritical?
hypocrite
I'm hypocritical about
Okay.
it. I am, for sure. Because I yuck people's yum all the time. Like, if someone's yum is, like, super capitalistic practices, I yuck that yum.
You yuck the shit out of
I
it.
yuck that yum so hard. I guess there's certain things I'm like, I don't see it as doing any harm to anybody.
Yeah.
It's like, don't yuck it. I think it's fine. They like watching My Little Pony, like, cool.
What if they like watching sports?
That's fine. I'm not against sports.
I'm trying to think of something that you are entirely against that's not capitalism.
Shallow female characters.
That's a crime in your book? Oh, no.
Also, hypocritically. I'm just going to keep saying it wrong now since I've said it wrong already. I'm against sex symbols. Like, female characters being made into sex symbols.
Sexualized?
Overly sexualized. But I personally want to be a sex symbol myself.
Yeah, that is a little hypocritical.
Yeah. Like, objectify me! Not those, not them. No, respect, but me!
That might come off a little virtue signally
Yeah, maybe.
to other people.
I just don't find it interesting.
Yeah, but you also find gender bent interesting.
I do. I don't know why.
Zero interest
I don't know
in.
why. Just, I want to see every version.
Of a male protag as a female?
Yeah, like I want to see a girl deck.
That's your want for better female characters, which are present.
Well, we
in
talked
men.
about that. We talked about that.
Yeah.
I don't
revealed
want
that you're actually just sexist against the good female characters because you don't like them being the voice of reason and you want them to do cool shit.
So when you explain that to me, I never thought about that before, and how
Yeah, they have their own role.
support role is actually incredibly important and like really cool. And when they're a voice of reason like that, maybe they're not the hero, the protag, but the super key person saying, "Hey, dummy," like
They're a plot
being
device.
dumb. Exactly. Well, yeah, essentially. But I didn't really take that. I never took it at that angle before. I always just saw.
You mean
why
you
is it always
never
the
saw
protag
women for
winning?
their value
No.
until I revealed it to you?
No, I just wished that a female character would get the same treatment as a protag does.
Oh.
And by protag I mean like general male protagonist who's the same every time.
Yeah.
And really, it boils down to something much simpler, and I'm overthinking and overqualifying it. I've just seen so many male protag stories that I find not male protag stories more interesting at this point. Which is exactly why I play female characters in games, because
You need to watch more trash anime because I feel like that's the untapped market you're not seeing in which the female characters are the most interesting.
so that's annoying too, though, because like you have to go to trashy subjects or like trashy versions of things to see.
Why is it trashy though? It's them being sexual. It's not the man like creeping up and sneaking on them in a lot of these ridiculous written stories. It's a man who is repressed within Japan, repressed within his own sexuality, because this is a recurring thing there.
Yeah.
Meeting very loose women who, yes, I don't know if it's written by male or female, but in most cases are meeting a woman who, in our American eyes, would be classified as horny like a dude.
That's true. Yeah.
So if anything, that's a more empowered female character than a girl who is written to be like preyed upon.
It's empowering for the guy writing it.
If it's a guy, no, I've definitely seen it where
It's been women too, but
yeah,
I guess it all comes down to
because wouldn't an empowered female just act on her own whims?
how far back are you looking at something like that? Are you looking at it as just the characters? Okay, cool. Like they're empowered because they're enacting the lesbian fantasies or something. Cool. Like they're doing the thing.
Doesn't have to be lesbian.
But then
She could be.
totally sure,
Yeah.
whatever. But that's just an example I'm giving.
Mhm.
Like you can see that as empowering, even though you can also see it as, well, this is just like smut made
Definitely.
to sell to use sex to sell, and there's really no actual value or content to this. It's just drawn boobs.
Within the trash, you will find some that have both, though.
Kill.
Yeah.
That's the perfect example of like It's got
Perfect.
that
I don't know about
surface.
perfect. They're still grade school girls. But
No, wait. FBI, stop. Don't misquote me.
that meme I show you, or the SWAT team coming up the stairs.
Oh, man. But, like, take a step back and start thinking about the writers themselves. Okay, is it, like, just a sexually repressed, like, 4-year-old dude? And he's doing this as, like, a self-empowering thing?
He's probably not doing it.
Or is it just, like, something that sells really well? And is he just, like, a gross pervert dude? Like, or take another step back.
I don't think he has to be either.
And start including the consumer on it as well. Like, yeah, it's kind of complex, I guess.
So he could have just written a story in which he feels like he is the repressed male in the plot, and he's come across women who were more sexually eager than he was, or was able to reciprocate to, because he was just shy. And that's your basic harem right there. It's the shy guy who doesn't want to act on something, and he's running into women who are more than willing to act, in fact, sexually aggressive towards him.
I hate harem shows.
That's just the ills of a Japanese man who doesn't want to leave his house.
There's never anything, like, compelling or interesting or necessarily good about the dude in them.
High School DxD. I'd say otherwise.
It's the exact same thing as Twilight. Or 50 Shades of Grey recently.
Didn't another movie come out for 50 Shades of Grey?
A couple days ago.
Oh.
That series has made like $1 billion.
I'm sure.
Here's the thing. The main character of those series, if the harem shows, the main dude or whatever, or if it's an opposite harem, the main girl, Bella in Twilight and Anastasia in 50 Shades of Grey, there's nothing interesting or compelling about those characters, so much so that...
That's why it's written for girls who are also boring to read that and to interject their boring selves into it.
Potentially, yeah.
It's made as an intentionally empty role.
That makes sense.
Probably similar to the person who wrote it. That's my theory in Twilight. It's like, if Bella seems very uncompelling, it's because the writer herself is probably uncompelling. So she's created a ridiculous scenario in which
every
very, very attractive guy is uncontrollably compelled to her.
Yes.
Even though the facts be she's uncompelling.
Yes.
That would never happen.
Yeah, that's the part that like blows my mind about the series.
But that's her yum. You're yucking.
Oh no! Within like 2 minutes, I'm a hypocrite. I'm hypocritical. No. Yeah, no, I'm a dumb hypocrite, and I don't understand what
if
I
you
like
were
and don't
Greek,
like.
you would be Hippocrates.
Hippocrates. Bitch, please stop, please. Praising the Lord, bitchicus. Yeah, no, it's if you think too hard
That's the
about
whole
stuff
thing.
you like and don't like.
It's someone else's fantasy.
Yeah.
And you happen to be watching it because it's on a public format
It just doesn't
where
match
they
my
published
fantasy.
it. Exactly. Versus they could watch your show and they could be like,
Why are
Why-
these female characters so goddamn empowered? Stop!
what are they actually accomplishing?
Why aren't the men doing anything?
I
It's
don't know.
opposite sexism.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it would be.
It would be episode 8. There's space, there's empowered women, nobody knows why.
Yeah, that's true. I probably wouldn't end up making that, and I'd sit down and go, I mean, garbage.
Yeah. I've made a ziggurat to mediocrity.
That sounds like the title of a book.
Ziggurat to
My
mediocrity?
Ziggurat to Mediocrity.
Or an episode of Scrubs.
Yeah. My SFI, yeah. Yep. Scrubs again. There he goes away.
Is My Chemical Romance an episode of Scrubs?
My Chemical Romance. I guess since people make stuff they want to see most of the time, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, then what I would make would be that, and what is made that I don't like is what someone wanted to like.
You would just make a new Star Trek.
Probably, yeah.
It's got enough of like the trappings of something you already like, and you know the characters, so you could write back in characters or just create.
Bring back Brent Spiner.
Oh yeah, so you're like, man, Data did not age well for an
I
android.
would love to see a series. Yeah, you're a good point.
And then you could write in that Data changed himself to age so he would feel more human-like.
He's more respected because now he's a captain of a ship, and he remembers Picard looking old. So to get the same respect, he makes himself look old too.
There you go.
Call him. We're making it happen. Brett.
Star Trek: The Aging Generation.
Mr.
Is a
Spider.
go.
Mr. Spider.
I would just want to bring back the same cast of TNG, but they're all gross and out of shape.
I wouldn't.
And I would make the whole series about them being admirals at Starfleet and have no space. Just them managing
Yeah, but
people
wouldn't
coming in and out of their office.
And they continue the same fucking drama
And
that they've been dealing with for like 60 years.
Except you get to see old Riker try to bed women where he's now gross and creepy.
Yeah, he just goes creeping out. And the only
Unless he beds other old admirals.
yeah, he's trying to bang Diana still.
And he's just like, still haven't lost it. And he's there, bald, gut out.
Picard's dying breath. You lost it. You lost it a long time ago.
Oh god, Wesley's the janitor.
I'm interested in that. Weird tangent, but I was thinking about it today. If you could be any mythical species of something, or like not fantasy or a fiction species of anything, what would you choose?
Zoran.
What?
It was too quick for you.
What?
Zorons from The Legend of Zelda, the fish people.
You want to be an Innsmouth motherfucker?
Yeah.
Why would you choose fish person?
Well, you want to like check out all of space.
Oh yeah.
I would just want to check out the ocean here.
But you don't. You're not a diver though.
Huh?
Why aren't you diving then?
Like right now?
Yes.
Why am I not a diver?
Yeah.
Because the vast amount limitation my lungs have make it kind of like an unattainable goal.
But if you find the ocean so interesting, why wouldn't you go diving and look
To
at
be
fish
like
and coral?
A marine biologist?
Not even
I don't
that,
know.
but just diving.
Well, it depends on what you mean by like mythical, right? Because my actual like thing that I work on is understanding the internet. So if I could be like, what was the species called? Or not species, the beings in Tron that they were the undiscovered.
The programs?
Not the programs, dude. I know the programs and then the users.
Sounds so
The ones
offended.
that he
No, the
discovered.
programs.
Yeah. The third type of beings that he discovered within the Tronverse.
I don't remember. I was like 2.
Mm.
All my knowledge of Tron comes from Kingdom Hearts. And the newest movie, which I forgot most of.
It's in that newest movie. He says he discovers a new race
The programs,
of
the
beings.
users, and then something else.
Something else. The
I
third
don't
beings,
know.
whatever.
Anomalies?
No, I don't know.
Anomalies?
No. It's like an actual thing in mathematics that he discovers.
Irrational numbers?
Basically, he discovers the irrational numbers. I don't know. I think that the one where you're equally scared and scaled and conditioned for your environment while still having enough to discover in your lifetime would
You
be
chose
the Zorons.
Merman.
Huh?
You chose Merman.
Merman with boomerang wrist and force field as he swims could shock people electric currents
Okay,
like
I
an
was
eel.
going to say as well, even as one of those things, I don't think you would be the apex or prime creature.
No, you're not. That's what makes it interesting.
Okay, I guess you're going for that, yeah.
Yeah, because I couldn't go with anything. I don't want to make myself too powerful. That seems a little pompous. I know you said anything, but like I easily could have flipped through my knowledge of fucking comics and found the most powerful thing. I'm like, I want to be that.
I want to be the that chair that knows all the answers.
The Mobius chair?
Yeah, I want to be the chair.
You can't be the chair, but
I
you
know,
could be the
kidding.
guy who sits.
I would
in the
not
chair.
be the Mobius chair. I wouldn't want to sit in either.
The Watcher. Actually, now that I'm thinking of like things it would be cool to be, would be the Watcher. If you're into that, I'd be Dr. Manhattan.
Man, I don't know. He seems like he's got a troubled life.
He definitely does,
Yeah.
but the whole thing is it's probably infinite, and he gets to create life, and destroy life.
I guess we're going a similar path because my answer would be like the classic elf.
I just want to walk around
Forever.
with my dick out, and no one. I'm so powerful. People can be like, "Hey, put some pants on." You're like, "This is Vietnam. I do whatever I want."
Yeah, elf, same exact scenario, except no one's going to have a problem with it because you're so beautiful. Like,
People have a
that's
problem with it.
That's a beautiful dick.
Alarmingly, I've been in a lot of like D&D type environments. I'm not saying I played D&D. That's you.
That's not so accusative.
But I'm saying I've been in those types of environments, those type of people, and alarmingly, everyone's like, "Fuck elves."
Yeah, a lot of people don't like
So
elves.
high and mighty.
You know why?
Dark elves exist, and
No.
dark elves
Fuck
have
shit
been
up, they
repressed for too long.
No.
It's Black History Month.
The reason why it's such a trope that everything else hates elves is because elves are better than everyone else.
I really want to see Dark Elf Dynamite.
I want to be better than that's a funny
Just a
image.
black Dynamite, but
He's an
Dungeons
elf.
and Dragon-y.
He's beautiful. Yeah, I'd go for elf. Live forever. You're gorgeous.
If I had a fantasy universe, now my Dark Elves would just be black people, but with pointy ears, and just hate the white elves so bad.
But hate everyone else more.
Yeah, they're cool with other black elves.
I had to play an elf character in our second D&D attempt. And the whole thing I did for that was that part of the characteristic of that character was that because he's an elf and lives such a long time, which in D&D elves aren't immortal, they just live a super long time by comparison.
Yeah, like 1,000 years or whatever.
I would have to be convinced to help other species that aren't elves just because of the lifespans I didn't see a point in saving someone at 30
Yeah.
if you're going to die at 60. Because that's such a short span if you're living for thousands of years. It's like, why would I help? Like, yeah, you're going to die, but, I mean, give it, like, relatively a day, you're going to die anyways.
Yeah, it would be
That's
like
a fun
helping out a
concept to think
mosquito.
about.
You're like, he's gonna die in a week.
Yeah, like, that's such a fun concept to think about. Like, you wouldn't go out of your way to save, like, an ant.
No.
And that's how the character
Dude, you
played
can
it.
keep scaling this animal up. There's a lot I wouldn't say. You gotta get up to puppy.
That's fun. It's fun to make everyone else have to try to convince me to do stuff that way.
I can see how that's your fantasy environment, where everyone else has to beg you for help.
And I'm better than everyone,
Yes.
and more beautiful than everyone. Yeah, that's my fantasy, yes.
Well, Zorons kind of do that in the games.
If only I
Because
was
they're
more
like,
delusional.
we have the ocean. Why do we care about what's going on land?
Yeah.
They're like, you guys are the minority. We have most of the planet. Like,
That's true.
which I would have your elf elite live in just underwater. And also, if like earthquakes, bad shit happens on land, dude,
I think if
there's
you're...
a lot of ocean down there.
If I was an immortal elf, too, I think I'd get really concerned with statistics. Because, like, over one lifetime, you're, like, this likely to die in a car crash.
Yeah.
But on an infinite time scale, if you're immortal, like, ooh, this is going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
If I continue on roads, I'd start getting really concerned about statistics.
You have to be careful how you word immortal. Like, if you ever have it in wish format,
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
because there's always the scenario where you are immortal,
But you
age.
Yeah.
So then you either end up in like that infinite like old skeleton who can barely move, or you just turn into sentient dust, which would be equally bad.
There's a really funny, like, not like a short story, essentially, of someone who spent their entire life getting ready to meet Satan, and they just study law and they study contracts for so long that they finally meet Satan, and it's like, I'll make a deal with you. It's like, good, yes! And he pulls out his contract to prepare his whole life for it, and it's like the most thorough possible thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I agreed to this, and I'd like this, but this does not constitute my wish, nor does it constitute this. Only in this written format can it be held accountable to this. It's such a long, funny thing. Like, as it reads through, Satan's just getting more and more annoyed, but he's held to the contract. It's really funny. It's a good read.
Does he ever get it? Jesus, you just Shaggy Dog me.
What?
We talked about the Shaggy Dog before.
What?
Shaggy Dog is a gag format in which
Oh, the story just goes on and on and
the
on.
story goes on and on. It has no conclusion.
Yeah. No, yeah, he gets.
And the joke is, how long can you keep someone listening intently like an asshole?
That's the purpose for a podcast.
Yeah.
There's no purpose or conclusion.
Yeah, we're
to
just
this.
shaggy dogging people.
That sounds kind of sexual.
Doggy shagging people.
Ooh. Bridgely sexual. He gets his wish. And there's no consequences because he thought it through.
Someone asked us earlier if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Move things with my mind. And I'll tell you why.
Telekinesis?
No. Wait, I mean, move things with your mind. So yeah, I guess. The smarter you are about it, the more you can do with it. It's like, oh, I want, like, the power to make ice. Okay, if you move things with your mind, you can make ice. I want the power to, like, fly. Okay, if you move things with your mind, you can fly. I want the power to control time. Okay, if you move things with your mind, you can control time, essentially.
Yeah.
Forwards, not backwards. Like, if you can move things with your mind, you're infinitely strong.
So the person who asked me this was really just fishing for my comic book knowledge, because they know I read a lot. And they were like, essentially they wanted me to weed out and do all the work for them and tell them what the best power was, because they assumed I would go with the best power. And I explained...
Jubilee.
I explained
I want the sparklish.
the class of fictional enemy, at least in the Marvel universe, that's usually hailed as the most elite, or at least with the most potential to be dangerous, is the telekinetic ones. Usually psychic in tandem with telekinesis, but there are cases where you just have telekinesis. Which, by the way, Charles Xavier isn't telekinetic. Huge misconception. It's just psychic.
Oh, and Jean Grey is telekinetic?
Jean Grey is both. That's why she's
so powerful.
Considered as powerful and the vessel for the Phoenix. Because the Phoenix recognized they had both those things. I think at one point Phoenix was like, do I go in Charles? No, Jean's better. And also Charles is a cripple. But, because if Charles was telekinetic, he could just move his legs.
That's true, yeah.
Or he would just float.
Isn't there a character that does that? Like, they're paralyzed, but he just uses his power to move himself?
Yeah. What's his name? He's in Marvel vs. Capcom. He's in the big chair, or the little chair. He's just a head.
MODOK?
MODOK is telekinetic. That's
MODOK
why his
is trash.
I love how your perception of Marvel characters is solely based off a fighting game.
Purely on a fighting game, nothing else.
But MODOK was created because they saw how powerful Jean and all these other psychics were, and they're like, we should make our own. And then we should make him listen to us, essentially. Obedient. We should program obedience, because if he's this powerful, what would stop him from turning around and killing us? Turns out, he turns around and kills them.
Oh. Turns out they suck at making obedience.
Yeah. Well, they tried making intelligence, but the problem is he was intelligent to the point it's like, why do I need you guys?
That's
and
a common,
he overrode his...
Now you're too smart, so you have no, like, drive to do anything or whatever.
Yeah.
Where does your blade land?
She's not telekinetic. She
Where's
just
it
creates
land?
an energy
Within
we don't
range.
understand that fucks up electricity.
So she's, like, second best?
There's classes to mutants. Have we talked about this before?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the top tier is considered Omega, and Omega is a very broad. We just classify Omega as anyone who can destroy a planet.
Okay.
Mainly the atmosphere of a planet.
Jubilee could with enough time frame.
I don't think so.
Probably not, actually.
Yeah, because the people who can it's very quickly. And off the top of my head, just give you an idea of who classifies as an Omega. Iceman, he could literally start an ice age if he...
He's that strong?
Yeah, they always... Here's the Iceman conundrum. Iceman isn't one of the original X-Men, so anyone who reboots X-Men usually has to add him. They discover him, so he's always in the infancy of his power, and then we'll usually get him up to the point where he's really good. Or starting to get a hold of it.
Full swing.
And it's been rebooted so many times, you keep restarting the Iceman infancy. So...
That's all superheroes right now, though.
That's not all of
there's
them.
so many reboots.
There's so many ones that... Like, the top of the heap superheroes, like Superman, there's just been points where they start Superman off too strong, and it takes a while in the series for them to find anyone, or you have to buff someone else, or create some random ridiculous hero or enemy we've never heard of that's on that level.
Yeah. He's one that gets rebooted
It's one of those like world scaling things you have to keep in mind. But yeah, there's a lot of problems with what we see in these Hollywood movies where you have origin story over and over again, or a reboot, or whatever you have for that, which I think the one that's dealt with it the best is Spider-Man, which you really don't want me going into that. That
Uncle Ben.
That part gets real
ready?
heavy. That gets real heavy, actually, with Uncle Ben. Because the scenario that I'm trying to avoid, which is the Spider-Verse and then the Spider-Wars, there's like one of the most heartfelt moments ever in a TV show with Uncle Ben there. But,
He meets all the Uncle Bens. It's like, wow, you're all so kind and loving. And then they all get shot at the same time. And he sees Uncle Ben die times 10.
damn it, you're going to make me talk
times
about
100, times 1,000.
So in the Spider-Wars, you remember the 90s animated TV show?
I'm going to nod, but I'm lying.
You remember it?
No.
It had the cool like guitar part as the intro, and then what's his name? Draw a blank. Mark Hamill did the voice of the Goblin, and he did a voice of a bunch of the villains on there.
Let's pretend I do
Goblin
remember it.
Okay. Anyways, moving on. In the 90s, it was an animated series. This animated series covered most of the continuity, and there was a character in there called Madam Web. And from time to time, in the middle of his arcs and adventures that were happening, Madam Web would show up in this weird kind of like fourth dimension. She travels space and time. She's like a fourth dimensional being, essentially. She shows up, and she usually puts him back on the path. And she's like, you're not ready to talk to me yet. Go solve this. There's other things at play. Just understand, you play a role in all these things. At the end of like what seems to be almost all of his arcs, almost all his bad guys, all his ducks are in a row. He's ready to like marry Mary Jane, and they're gonna have a wedding. The goblins like kaput.
I think I said goblins there.
No, the goblins done. Venom's off. Almost all his enemies are beaten. She says, "Time to have that talk that I've been preparing you for all this time." And he's just like, "Finally, I'm gonna get some answers." She's like, "I need you to do a thing." So, there's a multiverse out there, and I'm in charge of tracking just the Spider-Man. It's my only job. I keep the Spider-Man in a row. And we assign numbers to these Marvel multiverses, which is still a thing. There's a whole database that tracks which universe is which and who is involved with who.
Yeah.
Our universe, the main universe for Marvel, is 616, which is not be confused with the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. All those dumb movies that have come out in the meantime, that's the MCU. It's not 616. 616 are like classic comics. And for Marvel, at least. So she says, hey, there's something happening right now that might destroy all of the multiverse at once, like all of them. And they're like, what? Your knowledge of space, like, how could you destroy all of them at once? And you've heard the science fiction answer before. What is the ridiculous scenario they try using for blowing up a multiverse?
Jubilee.
No.
Oh, black hole?
You would have to somehow start a chain reaction in one universe that would then start a chain reaction. They're like atom bomb in a wormhole, and then
Okay.
that wormhole would chain reaction all the other universes. So somehow you would have to...
If it goes to each infinite one, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. That you would create a wormhole somehow that would open up in every universe, and then send like not an atom bomb. An atom bomb's not big enough. But you're going to have to cause an explosion that would chain reaction through all of
The
them.
universe ending, something happening in all universes.
Yeah. They're like, what could this be? So, I'm going to save you the pains and ills. He teams up with a whole bunch of different Spider-Men
Yeah.
across the multiverse. So,
The Spider Boys.
there's
And girls.
there's like one where he became an Iron Man-like character.
Yeah.
And he has the Iron
The
Man
Iron Spider.
suit. Yeah, no, Iron Spider's something separate.
God damn it, of course it is.
It is. But there's one where he pretty much had Parker Enterprises instead of Stark Enterprises.
Okay.
Everything you're thinking of that Tony did, he did.
All the fusions.
Yeah. But then also weird ones like Spider-Pig. There's a noir one. Spider-Pig is in like a Looney Tunes universe.
Yeah.
In which like the goblin's like a big bad wolf. And he's still in like a goblin outfit or whatever. But that's the whole thing. It's an infinite universe. You can make it whatever you want and it's there.
Yep.
Including one where he's the cosmic spider and he's basically God. He met a god entity and they're like, cool.
But if
And the
it's
god entity
infinite,
gives him
though,
his powers.
If it's infinite, though, yes, there's an infinite number of Spider-Man heroes, but wouldn't there be an infinite number of Spider-Man villains?
There's
I
someone
mean,
he is the
Spider-Man
villain.
as the villain. That's what I'm saying. Like, if there's a god Spider-Man somewhere,
There's one.
there should be an evil
There's
god
one.
Spider-Man.
There's one worth mentioning. So the whole thing that they're trying to figure out is what is this cataclysmic event that's happening that's going to affect all multiverses? Because Madam Web wouldn't have gotten involved unless it was important. Because that's why she's like, not ready, not ready, not ready. She picked 616 Spider-Man to lead the other Spider-Men to beat the one bad Spider-Man. Naturally, in an infinite universe, there's probably more bad ones out there. This one is so bad and still smart enough and somehow found the means to get this like world.
He's the only one that
multiverse-
meets the threshold for universe threatening.
Yep, multiverse threatening.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
So basically, it's a universe in which Uncle Ben died, and during his window of grief, the Carnage symbiote finds him.
I like Carnage.
Yeah, the suit is amazing, by the way, for this Carnage. Spider Carnage is what they call him. So it's just a normal Peter Parker, but he has Peter Parker's intellect and then grief-stricken plus Carnage symbiote, perfect blend, and then all the other events that happen in his universe get him up to conquering his universe.
He's like the suicidal one.
Yep, and then he figures out, well, what else is out there? And then, because he's infinitely corrupted by the Carnage symbiote, and he just wants to destroy everything because he's internally hurting. And he's like, everything? I can destroy everything. So he gets Doc Connors, aka the Lizard, to build him a machine so that he could travel between universes. So his idea is to essentially have like a ridiculous like universe bomb, and he opens a wormhole essentially to all of them at once, and he's going to start the chain reaction.
It's only going to be like the main 616 Spider-Man that saves it, though.
Yeah, it is. Because he has
I don't like
leadership
that.
skills. No. You have to understand, he didn't succeed because he's ours. The story is only told from his vantage point.
Because he's the one that succeeds.
Because he's the one who succeeds.
Yeah, I get that.
And it just happens to be the one that you're watching. Because really, you could take the series as you're watching from the perspective of Madam Web. Because if I were to show you Madam Web's character, she's an old woman sitting in a chair. She's bound to the chair. She can't move out of it. And she has like a bunch of monitors around her. And all she can see is the monitors. And she's wearing like a red Spider-Man suit. But similar to Spider-Man. It actually looks more like Carnage.
She's a massive nerd.
Yeah, she's a huge Spider-Man fan.
I've been watching you.
Yeah.
All of you.
By the way, Man Spider is a universe in which he went too far into being a spider.
Yeah, he has like 8 arms, doesn't he?
He has 6 arms and 2 legs, and that makes 8.
He's creepy.
Yeah, and then he has a complete spider
Messed up
transformation.
face, too.
Oh yeah, it's pretty gross.
Nasty hero.
Yeah, so there's all these like Gaslight Spider-Man. I didn't mention that one.
Gaslight.
Yeah, it's a LA Noir Spider-Man.
Oh, okay, yeah. I've seen like images of that one.
Yeah. So they all team up. Long story short, final climax is them with like a talking a man off a ledge scenario. Spider-Man's like, you guys distract him in this final fight, because he actually rounds up different villains from the multiverse and he makes them fight the Spider-Man, and it's in a dystopian Earth. So he divvied up the map into, it's like, this one is just the Doc Ock region, and Doc Ock is like,
This is the infinite number of Doc Ocks, essentially.
No, it's just Doc Ock and like dystopian citizens of that main universe he's operating out of, and he's like, you get this whole region. That's how he convinced Doc Ock. He's like, you're the landlord, essentially.
Yeah.
So just wreck shit and make people miserable. So they do, and they like love their riches and shit.
But don't they know he's going to destroy the universes?
No, they have no clue.
Okay.
So that's kind of how he gets them down. He's just like, hey, I have this awesome place where you can be king of your own territory. And they're like, what? I'd love to do that.
That'd be such an easy way to turn them over to the good side. If they're just like, yeah, he's going to destroy the universe. Like, yes, he gave you this, but he's going to kill you and everything, and you will have nothing.
Nope. It makes for a really awesome fight. He never lets them know that he's smart. Spider Venom is still smart at the end of the day. Or Spider Venom. Spider Carnage. But the ending scenario is where our Peter Parker, 616. By the way, there's one Spider-Man that's been left out of this the entire time. I'll mention that later.
It's Spider Deadpool.
You could not guess who it is.
Dead Spider. It's Jubilee.
So he goes back to Madam Web. He's like, hey, Madam Web, I can save the day. I just need to go get someone. Can you take me there? And they're like, yes, I can. So he goes and gets a random Uncle Ben to come talk Spider Carnage out of blowing up the multiverse. And he sees him because he's been fixating on this terrible feeling for who knows how long. And he instantly, the Carnage face opens up.
Yeah.
The teeth come back, and it's just normal Peter Parker under there. And he's like crying. And he's like, gives him this speech about how he once told him that we make our own luck, and that he forgives him, and that nothing has to happen, that he can choose to do the right thing right there. And Spider Carnage instead just jumps off and commits suicide, and that's the end of the saga. Because he couldn't he was still conflicted enough that he didn't want to do the terrible thing with Uncle Ben watching.
Yeah.
So his only answer he can come up with was killing himself.
Torn up, yeah.
Yeah. So he jumps off, essentially, and just gets torn up by the wormhole. And the day is saved. And then, from there, they go back, and that one Spider-Man, at the beginning of the fight, he's just like, what can you do? Because he looked just like 616 Spider-Man. He's like, I don't have any powers.
He's just a normal guy?
He's the voice actor of the series you're watching.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he's in the costume.
That's really funny.
So then she's like, Madam Web's like, I'll do you a favor before I'll send you home. So she sends him to our universe to go meet our Stan Lee, and he takes Stan Lee swinging through New York, and it kind of sums up the series nice in a bow, because he says, wow, Spider-Man, in the really like old man cliche way Stan Lee talks. He's like, you don't sound at all like the conflicted character I've been talking about. You seem to have grown up entirely through this series, like my viewer. And he's like, yeah, I guess I have. Because the whole series it's him whining, complaining, and creating a lot of his own problems, pushing people away. And he dates like 4 or 5 women in the crux of the series, and even all the other women are like, you don't know what you want.
He has an emo phase in a 3rd movie.
Actually, in the series, he has an emo phase when he dates Black Cat, and he has a black suit.
Yeah.
Which, that movie fucked up entirely.
Maybe kind of a cooler ending, though.
What?
Like, more than him just being torn up and Uncle Ben talking him down, but not too down, like not all the way down.
Yeah.
Is if it dawned on him that the way universes work and multiverses work, if there's an infinite number where Uncle Ben doesn't die, and if he destroys the universes, he destroys all those Uncle Bens too. So he ends up being the killer for those Uncle Bens.
Yeah.
And that realization makes him kill himself.
Well, he never had to go against Carl Sagan, so that didn't happen.
There's a universe where Carl Sagan is Spider-Man. 6
Sagan
million
Man.
more passes ago. Pow!
Yeah, and that's the craziest Spider-Man story. And then someone tried one up in that recently, where they add in more madness. But.
I like that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and it also, previous to that, one of the coolest moments in comics was the Secret Wars, in which Spider-Man gets put in charge of the Secret Wars team, which is a bunch of conglomerate bad guys against a conglomerate of good guys.
Like Suicide Squad?
And he gets to pick his roster, and it's them versus Doctor Doom in a universe in which Doctor Doom has become godlike, because he stole a god's powers essentially, so he can just like random create and stuff. Madam Web takes him there, and she's like, all right, you get to make a team. I only have so much juice. You get this many people. And he's like, I fought what Storm was. She was awesome. Bring her here. Captain America, he can lead anyone. Bring him here. And then he like makes his team, and then they go at it. And at the end of it, Spider-Man is, I don't know, they kind of beat Doom, kind of don't at the same time. It all turns out to be a test from Madam Web and the God Creature, who got his powers stolen, quote unquote. And they were like, this was just conditioned to see if you could lead a team, and that goes to the Spider-Wars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She's very much just like, gotcha, this is all a simulation.
You know what makes that story compelling and like one of the good ones?
What?
It's got a representation of the human element really well.
Yeah.
With like tragedy and grief and all that.
Yep.
And also a representation of like science and space and universes and like high concepts like that.
It introduced me to the concept of a multiverse and infinite decision. And also him realizing that he had a role to play and that he was insignificant. Even in a universe where he seems to be the most important, he still isn't.
Yeah.
It's the multiverse itself that's important. And even creatures like Madam Web and the Beyonder, who are like moving in and out of dimensions, they're like, no. We work for this. This being the multiverse.
I like universe stories.
Yeah, I do too.
That's what I'm excited about Super.
Dragon Ball Super?
Yeah.
I like it.
Anything's like, it's always compelling when the universe is
So
involved.
how about Infinity Wars?
No.
You don't like it because
Fuck
you're
off.
allergic to Marvel.
It's dumb. It's garbage.
You're allergic to mainstream. I feel like if it was a secret and I
No,
only
it's
told
not.
you
It's
about
not because it's main. It's because like comic books still aren't mainstream. But I'm not attracted to comic books.
it. Comic book stories are mainstream. Sorry, comic book characters are mainstream.
Yeah, the actual stories they're involved with usually aren't though.
Yeah.
Like the one you described, I've never ever heard of before. But I've heard
No,
of
you won't.
all the characters you mentioned except for Madam Web.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of cool stories like that tucked away in comic books, and that's
Yeah.
why I pay attention. And that was one that I got like as a child, and then I watched again as an adult. I'm like, oh, this is really deep.
It does sound really good.
It is. In fact, if I could tell anyone to watch any part of it, it's available on YouTube. I think it was on Netflix for a while too. Just watch the Secret Wars and then the Spider Wars. That's it. The rest of the series I really like, but would it appeal to most people? Probably not. It's nerd shit. The end though, that's where it gets like profound. And I really did water down Stan Lee's little speech at the end, Uncle Ben's. But it is a moving moment.
Yeah.
It's just like, I saw like the guy that I was rooting for the whole time, the hero, and his ultimate downfall in the worst situation, cry, commit suicide, and then we all just moved on.
Woohoo!
Which is kind of like what it feels like to watch Episode 8 as a Star Wars fan.
You're crying inside.
Yeah, because you see the hero that you were rooting for originally, at his worst moment, pretty much just commit suicide and we all just move on.
That's not even... Wasn't there a whole thing about, like, Mark Hamill not even imagining that was the
He
same
disassociated the character he was playing from the character he previously played.
Yeah.
He called it, like, Stan Skywalker or something.
Yeah, like Jim or some shit. Brian.
Jake. I think it was Jake.
Jake. Oh, yeah, it was Jake Skywalker. Yeah, that's what he said. It's kind of sad for that.
Well, when news broke originally that he was on set and he was going to be reprising his role, there was immediately a follow-up story that he had a huge disagreement with the script and he didn't think it was going to work, and I'm assuming they paid him more money, which made him come back.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is, it was going to happen without him, and I think he realized he would like to make peace with the character, even if on his own terms.
If I make peace, you mean make money.
I mean,
swallow the pride and take the bill.
Maybe that's the only win he could have taken from it. It really depends, because at this day and age, they could just digitally create your face.
Yeah, he didn't have creative power over it, so...
No, he doesn't.
That sucks.
And then maybe some people think having some product made, even if it's a bad product, I don't agree. I would rather it never be made at all.
Then why are we doing this?
Our product's good enough.
For us.
For us.
It's good enough.
Even though I rambled on about like 40 minutes for Spider-Man, and this is the
that actually was a really compelling story.
It's one that I know, so to me, it's going to probably be boring to other people.
I don't know, maybe, but I think it has enough, like I mentioned, high concept tied in with human element. So whichever one you're interested in, it's going to deliver on.
Well, it kind of does the Blade Runner answer to the new Blade Runner that we saw and we raved about, but they never know because that episode never came out. That some of the best stories are where the main character is insignificant, but it's still important that you realize you do the best you can.
Yeah.
And that is what being heroic is, in a way.
Yeah.
You realize there's something bigger at play.
Well, it plays with the concept of storytelling, anyways. Like Blade Runner 2049 did, where even the character himself is going back and forth between thinking he's insignificant and then super significant, and then insignificant again, and then super significant again.
Yeah.
By accepting he's insignificant, he then does something to make himself significant.
Not only that, but a lot of the times where he talked himself into being significant, he's not talking to himself. Other people are letting him know, or at least leading him on, or he's misinterpreting, that he's some chosen person. But he didn't have a true self, a true identity, until the day he decided to make an action for himself.
Yeah. Thus telling himself he's significant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not others making him significant. That's why it's so good. And it's the viewers doing the same. So that's a good example, because I always rant on about how the consumer or viewer or whatever of an art piece or product or whatever is involved in the project itself.
Mm.
Just the same way, like, the perspective of someone observing a black hole or science or whatever is involved in that. Like, you know how quantum physics, when you observe something in like a flux state, every time you observe it, it'll be something else, and the act of observing is what makes
that's
it
misleading. I've heard a huge rant about this.
Superposition. Yeah,
about the superposition, because this is usually used to explain an electron.
Yeah,
but that's very misinterpreted.
No. The electron cloud, that's just the motion of the electron itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's so rapid that when you measure it, yeah, it'll be in one spot when you measure it, but really it's moving so fast that in all intents and purposes, it's in all the places.
Yeah.
Quantum physics is different. Quantum physics is, a particle is in a superposition.
Yes.
So it's, at the same time, it's a wave, it's a dot, or I don't know what they all are.
Because this is shown in, like, the electrons...
Electrons aren't small enough to have this effect, essentially.
But the phenomenon you just explained of observing something and it being different is supposedly showcased in the Electron Slit Experiment, in which, by creating a slit small enough for an electron to go through, and they measure which one did it go through, on different measurements, you would get different answers, but it has nothing to do with you observing it.
I know what you're talking about. It's not electrons. It's photons.
Oh, okay, photons.
And that is the Slit Experiment, where there's a piece of paper, you're shining photons at it,
Yep.
and there's only two slits of paper about a couple inches apart.
Yep.
Logically, there should only be two sections of light on the wall behind the paper, because there's only two slits. But, in reality, there's a third in between the two, and no one can figure out why that was. How can there be a third section of light in the middle if there's no slit there?
Yeah.
And that's because on a quantum level, not the photons themselves, but the particles making up photons, even smaller, aren't necessarily just a wave that are only going to go directly in a direction.
They're just wave light.
And be blocked. Exactly. On a larger scale, we perceive the wave. But on a quantum level, it's not. It's in a superposition. So it has, I forget exactly how it works out and what all it means, and you can look up pretty easily by looking for the Slit Experiment. But due to how quantum physics works, there's a third beam in the middle.
Yeah.
Where, I forget how it bends, makes it, but that's what I'm talking about. So it's smaller than the electron cloud, it's smaller than a photon, it's in a superposition, and no one knows yet, I think, how it works, but the act of measuring a subatomic particle and a quantum particle, the act of measuring it is what makes the particle leave superposition, somehow as if it knows it's being measured, and to stay in one form of matter.
So this is the argument that I heard. Not that it is leaving it intentionally to reaction to anything.
Yeah, no. This is what it seems
the action, like. Yeah. It's the action of going through and you trying to measure it. You don't know how you're affecting it, but you are affecting it.
Yeah.
It is not acting in a way
it's not reacting.
It
It just seems that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
and
that's
we
why
still
I mean,
don't know how that happens.
phrase is misinterpreted. Because someone's just saying, like, oh, I'm making reality happen around me?
Like
no,
how is us
idiot.
perceiving this thing somehow affecting it without us knowingly affecting it?
Yeah, because that's like the whole Schrodinger's cat.
You know, they started out as a joke.
Really?
The whole Schrodinger's cat scenario is when the whole quantum idea was coming out, like becoming popular. As far as I remember, I might be inaccurate in some facts here.
Yeah, like Einstein.
Schrodinger was a huge discontent or whatever. Like, he was against the idea of superposition. He's like, that's stupid. There's no way something can't be in more than one state at once. That's dumb. So he had a house party. This is as far as I remember it, where he put his cat in the box and said, "Is it alive? Is it dead? We won't know until we observe it, because it's not one or the other. It's both right now." And it was like, haha, very funny. That's so dumb, because we all know the cat is either alive or dead. It can't be both at the same time, because we're not dumb. But it actually ended up being a really, really succinct and good example of superposition. Because the act of measuring the cat's status makes it that status, because you cannot prove that it is not that status without measuring it.
Yeah.
So in essence, it is in a superposition until someone measures it.
I have a question
Go
for the
ahead.
class. Is the Judeo-Christian God in a superposition?
We're on to a bigger problem, Timmy. Let's step outside and call your parents. We might need to find an alternative lesson plan for you here. But yeah, so that's the whole thing with superposition of particles. How do you get to that? Let's work backwards.
We went to observing something.
Schwimmer's cat, you thought electron cloud was that, but the whole thing is just probability and
no.
speed of the moment.
I understand that much. I was just...
Yeah.
For anyone listening...
That doesn't act
I was
like
let's
quantum does.
rewind real quick, because I understand the first time I heard that statement.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what bullshit did you just try
You
to
heard
sell
it
me?
inaccurately.
Yeah.
Or seemingly inaccurate. I don't know what you heard.
Well, no, I heard it from a hippie person who was trying to say scientists are just confirm you make reality with your thoughts. I'm like, no, that's not what they said.
No. That's what it seems to be.
Yeah.
Because there's no scientific succinct explanation for it yet, so people latch on like God, like, every single time there's a scientific advancement. Brian, yeah. Every time that happens, like people like heliocentric, right?
Yeah.
Before it was accepted, the idea was around for a while. In fact, the guy who came up with the idea, I can't remember his name for the life of me right now, he held on to the idea for his whole life. But because religion was so strong and so in power at the time and he's seen so many people be like
Chastised.
their lives ruined for it.
Yeah.
He kind of took the idea back in a way. He's like, I was wrong. Like it's geocentric. And then on his deathbed, that's when he finally released the paper saying, actually, no, it's heliocentric. Like,
Yeah.
I was just scared of all you jerks for my entire life.
Yeah.
That
He
could
saw
be
what they
inaccurate.
did to Galileo. He's like, no.
Yeah, that could be inaccurate a little bit too. I don't remember exactly who it was, what the situation was, but just because of that idea. And then finally, once heliocentric was accepted, the idea of theology shifted with that and said, well, okay, it's heliocentric, but God made it that way.
Yeah.
And like it just continues to go that way as progress moves forward, which is crazy to me because then if it's an omnipotent God and it knows everything and has everything, why wouldn't it make a universe so complex that it takes humankind, who God supposedly gave the ability to find stuff out, an infinite amount of information
He punished
to
them
learn?
for getting that ability. You gotta think about it within its
That's
own
true,
lore.
yeah, that's true.
He's like, oh, you have knowledge? Pfft, fuck this, get out.
Yeah, that's true. And if
It doesn't make
he's
sense.
omnipotent, why would he even punish it if he knew it was going to happen and then set them up to do it?
This is my argument I had with someone recently. I was like, first off, the Garden of Eden and Genesis makes no sense. Because they're like, which part of the Bible do you have a problem with? I'm like, I can't get past the first chapter.
Cover to cover.
It's like, first chapter, man, I can't even get out of that.
Yeah, and like in
I was
the
like,
answer
first
space,
off, if I'm omnipotent, omnipotent, you take your pick. I've read it, looked at both, dissect the word. Either's fine. If I know everything, why do I send the two innocent creatures I've created to the one place I've banished the bad guy that I created? You get what I'm saying?
Like if I go to
like if I have two children I don't want affected by bad influences, but I've also taken Charles Manson and put him in the woods, I'm not going to put those children in range of that woods.
yeah, like if I die and it turns out heaven's real and like Jesus is like, hey bud, ooh, sorry, but
If I show up to any kind of judgment, I'm going to be like, all right, before I go to hell, I need some answers.
yeah,
That's
like,
it.
like I would just meet God and go, but why though? Like what? Because it seems like you're just a jerk in this scenario.
Yeah.
What the? Why?
To me, heaven is just any scenario in which I get to ask God why. Infinitely.
Infinitely. He must answer all your questions, and the only question is why over and over and over and over. And over. Like the most annoying fifth grader.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I got whole lots of problems with that. But like, on the other hand, going back to yucking someone's yum, I'm not against religion. I'm against things done in the name of religion that are usually pretty negative.
Yeah.
Because religion is just a very a very smart way to teach a code of conduct to people, to how
That's
they
what
should
Jordan
behave.
Peterson thinks. He thinks it's more about storytelling and parables and analogies.
Yeah.
In that Jesus teaching through analogies, a lot of people misconstrued that teaching, and then he was said. Some people have said maybe he was more like a Buddha character, saying I'm enlightened, and rather than to be like my father, be like me, you should act kindly to your neighbor and not covet greed and be a good citizen, which that gets downplayed a lot. Which
Oh yeah,
a lot of Christian acts. You know that whole, if you were to give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, number one, any religion wouldn't be tax exempt. That alone, I'm like, well, Caesar needs land and taxes and property, so
Pay up.
pay up.
Yeah. And they wouldn't seem like such closed communities that, like, if you're not part of
Well,
it...
also you have the whole cast the first stone example, and so that's treating
Even within the Bible, there's...
derelicts of your society with compassion.
Yeah. Doesn't, like, Jesus, like, storm a temple and stuff because they're not actually behaving properly or
Priestly.
good.
It was I think they were the Pharisees. Yeah, it was the Pharisees' temple, and it was so. Are you aware of what the Pharisees are? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a money thing. They were. I believe it was in some translation. It was gambling happening in there, and he says, "You dare do this in my dad's house." I'm paraphrasing. Jesus wasn't as laid back as me.
How dare you? I like to imagine Jesus.
My dad will be home any minute.
He had a voice like mine. Like, how dare you? I kind of feel that way. Like every time I went to a Catholic church and they passed around that like basket or bucket for like change and dollar bills, I'm like, the fuck is this? Like, no.
Imagine if you did that to your guest. And that's the whole thing. It's not even their guest.
Yeah.
It's
hey,
God's
welcome
guest.
to the house. Yeah, welcome.
No. You're house sitting for someone, and then you ask for money?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah. Kind of weird.
That's kind of one of my whole thing where
I
go back on the tax exemption thing, because people are just like, why are you so hung up on taxes? I was like, I've seen pictures of the Vatican. There's gold, decadence, velvet. I was like, God's so humble, and he can make anything.
How is that justified?
He doesn't need that. I'm like, this is clearly your house. I was like, so it's very convenient that it's a very nice establishment. The Pope has security, a Pope mobile, nice clothes, and somehow he's just holding it for God. Bullshit.
Isn't it also like specified that like a shack used for prayer and worship is equal in every way to like the largest Vatican?
That was the whole thing about
palace.
the Ark of the Covenant, and it's usually a misconception. The Ark didn't matter. It was supposed to be like, it was the housing for God, but people began to worship the Ark, and that's why the Ark got taken away. It's like, no, you guys still don't get it.
Seems like people still don't
A
get
higher
it.
power is more important than a physical box. But I feel like now the physical box is just kind of the Bible itself and the religion, and that's why God left us. You guys still don't get it. I'm out.
And I knew you.
And I'm taking Carl Sagan with me.
No! He's too damn close.
Him and Tesla.
Nikola Tesla.
Nikola.
I keep thinking of Elon Musk like, he's still alive.
Someone had a really great meme today, and I think we should close.
And know what I mean?
It was a picture of Elon Musk. It said Elon Musk now, and then it had a picture of the elusive man from
Mass Effect. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Elon Musk when he gets to Mars.
Yeah, he takes it over. Becomes the elusive man. He's gonna get into legend.
And then next time they see us on this podcast, we will be the elusive man, because we'll actually have a visual, but it's gonna be really dark in here.
Elusive man?
The Mass Effect.
No, there's another thing that's elusive man. I don't know. I can remember. Doesn't matter.
We could be the 2.5 elusive men.
Elon, you're pregnant?
No.
Oh.
Got a midget.
It's 2018. They're called white imps. That's a callback. I'm not racist.